When Prince Harry decided to trade his royal tiara, metaphorically speaking, of course, for a military helmet, many wondered if the cheeky ginger prince could survive without palace perks. After all, this was the same guy who had a reputation for late-night escapades and dodgy costume choices. But beneath the mischief and tabloid headlines was a man determined to prove he was more than just the spare to the heir. Harry wanted to serve his country, not by waving from a balcony, but by getting his boots dirty. Spoiler alert, those boots got very dirty. Of course, becoming a soldier wasn't as simple as strutting into Sandhurst and saying, "I'm here to save the day." Harry had to endure the same grueling training as everyone else, from endless push-ups to shouting sergeants who probably relished barking orders at royalty. Add in the fact that he couldn't exactly blend in. There's only so much you can do to disguise a prince with a flame-red mane, and you've got the makings of a very unusual military career. Yet, Harry managed to go from royal misfit to respected officer, proving that sometimes even a prince needs a bit of mud on his face to find his purpose. But let's not pretend the journey was all smooth sailing, or smooth marching, for that matter. From dodging sniper fire in Afghanistan to dodging paparazzi at home, Harry's military life was a mix of adrenaline, absurdity, and occasional bouts of royal drama. And while the battlefield taught him courage, it was the camaraderie and sense of service that truly reshaped him. This is the story of how a cheeky prince became a soldier, and how he made the transition with plenty of laughs and a few blisters along the way. The journey of a soldier prince. Prince Harry's decision to become a soldier was as much about honoring tradition as it was about forging his own identity. Born into royalty as the younger son of Charles and Diana, Harry had the weight of history on his shoulders but also the freedom to chart a path less conventional. While the world saw him as the mischievous, fun-loving spare to Prince William, beneath the surface was a young man yearning for purpose, discipline, and a way to serve a cause greater than himself. The early years, growing up in the public eye, Harry was no stranger to scrutiny. His early years were marked by both privilege and tragedy, the most profound of which was the untimely death of his mother, Princess Diana, in 1997. At just 12 years old, Harry walked behind her coffin, the weight of global sympathy and expectation pressing down on his small shoulders. The loss left an indelible mark on him, shaping his worldview and igniting a desire to protect others from suffering. As he navigated adolescence, Harry struggled with the pressures of royal life and often found himself the subject of tabloid headlines. But underneath the rebel persona was a young man with a deep sense of duty, inherited from generations of royal service. Inspired by his family's military legacy, both his father and grandfather served in the armed forces. Harry saw the military as an avenue to build character and make a meaningful impact. Joining the army, in 2005, after completing his education at Eton College, Harry enrolled at the prestigious Royal Military Academy Sandhurst. There, he underwent rigorous training, learning the values of discipline, teamwork, and resilience. It wasn't just about the physical challenges. Sandhurst demanded mental toughness and a commitment to excellence, qualities Harry worked hard to cultivate. Commissioned as an officer in the Blues and Royals, a regiment of the Household Cavalry, Harry took his first steps as a professional soldier. Despite his royal status, he insisted on being treated like any other recruit. He bunked with his comrades, endured the same grueling drills, and embraced the camaraderie that came with military life. Deployment to Afghanistan. In 2007, Harry's determination to serve on the front lines was put to the test. Amid debates over the security risks of sending a royal to a war zone, Harry was deployed to Afghanistan's Helmand province. Serving as a forward air controller, he worked closely with ground troops, coordinating air support during combat missions. For the first time, Harry felt like he was part of something larger than himself. "I finally got to be just Harry," he later reflected. Away from the royal spotlight, he built bonds with his fellow soldiers and experienced firsthand the realities of war. It wasn't without challenges. After 10 weeks, his deployment was cut short when international media leaked his location, putting his unit at risk. Despite the abrupt end to his tour, Harry's time in Afghanistan left a lasting impression. Witnessing the sacrifices of his comrades and the resilience of local communities deepened his sense of duty and compassion, advocacy and legacy. After returning from active duty, Harry channeled his experiences into advocacy. In 2014, he founded the Invictus Games, an international sporting event for wounded, injured, and sick service personnel and veterans. The Games aimed to inspire recovery, support rehabilitation, and highlight the strength of those who served. Harry's commitment to the cause resonated deeply, earning him admiration far beyond royal circles. Over the years, Harry has spoken openly about the psychological toll of military service, advocating for mental health support for veterans. His honesty about his own struggles, combined with his dedication to helping others, has cemented his legacy as a soldier prince who transcended the privileges of birth to serve with purpose. Prince Harry's journey as a soldier was more than a career choice, it was a transformative chapter that shaped the man he is today. From the battlefields of Afghanistan to the global stage of the Invictus Games, Harry's story is one of resilience, service, and a deep desire to make a difference. Though he has since stepped back from his royal duties, the values instilled in him during his military years continue to guide his work, proving that the heart of a soldier never truly leaves the battlefield. Soldiering through the madness, when Prince Harry traded his royal robes for a military uniform, it wasn't all salutes and cinematic heroics. Sure, he looked great in camouflage, but the road to becoming Captain Wales, his army alias, was paved with unexpected challenges. From dodging media helicopters to surviving the military's infamous death by push-ups, Harry's military stint was anything but ordinary. Most recruits worry about keeping their boots polished. Harry, he worried about paparazzi zoom lenses and headlines like, "Prince in the trenches." From day one at Sandhurst, his royal status painted a giant target on his back, both for the press and his fellow recruits, but Harry was determined to be just another bloke. That meant scrubbing toilets, shining boots, and enduring drill sergeants who, let's face it, probably relished yelling at a prince. "You may be royal, but your bunk is still a royal mess," became a common refrain. The Ginger Prince in the desert. Fast forward to Afghanistan, Harry was finally living his dream of serving on the front lines, coordinating airstrikes and dodging the odd sandstorm. But being a royal in a war zone came with unique problems. For starters, his fellow soldiers joked he was the most expensive decoy in history. If the enemy knew a prince was around, Harry's presence could turn a quiet desert patrol into a full-blown action movie. And let's not forget the logistical nightmare of trying to stay incognito when your face is on every gossip magazine back home. Spoiler alert, the plan failed when a media leak forced him to cut his deployment short. A royal pain, literally in the military, meant enduring injuries, blisters, and a diet that could make a castle chef weep. Harry famously admitted that his military nickname could have been, "Captain Complains a Lot," during the long marches and sleepless nights, and then there was the moment when he realized his hairline was starting to thin. "Blame the helmet," he joked, but deep down, Harry probably knew the real culprit: Windsor genetics and military stress, balancing soldiering with royal duty. As much as Harry wanted to be one of the lads, there was no escaping the royal tug-of-war. One minute, he'd be dodging mortar fire in Afghanistan. The next, he'd be at Buckingham Palace wearing a suit so formal it probably had its own postcode. "Let's just say I've perfected the art of switching from fatigues to a tux in under 5 minutes, he quipped during one of his public speeches. The battle of public perception. Even after leaving active service, Harry faced the ultimate foe, public opinion. Some criticized his privileged path to the military, while others questioned why he wasn't deployed for longer. But Harry had a knack for turning criticism into inspiration. When naysayers doubted his commitment to veterans, he launched the Invictus Games, a global event celebrating wounded warriors. "They said I'd never stick to one thing," Harry joked. "I guess proving 'em wrong is my favorite hobby." A soldier fit for a crown. Prince Harry's military journey wasn't just about becoming a soldier, it was about proving that a prince could roll up his sleeves, or at least his camo sleeves, and get the job done. From the desert sands of Helmand to the polished floors of royal receptions, Harry's life has been a masterclass in juggling duty, identity, and an unrelenting sense of humor. If there's one thing Harry learned, it's that whether you're in the palace or the trenches, the best weapon is always a good laugh.